actually closed closer to that 31 level, up towards 28, and it seemed like the week, the ups and downs, and I'm not talking about close-to-close pricing. I'm talking the intraday trading, which was extraordinary. But, yeah, let's go close-to-close. So you look at last Friday, and you had a 2-day run, the S&P getting hammered, the Dow down 1,000 points. You look over at the NASDAQ, and even though it recovered somewhat, you're looking across and you're saying, well, let's see, the S&P down about 3%, the Dow down about 3%, the NASDAQ down about 3%. Really a very, very weak ending to last week. And it was certainly underneath a lot of incredible volumes. As a matter of fact, yeah, when we look back to Thursday, 49.5 million contracts. Yes, 49.5 million. You look to Friday, 48 million. So a record setting by a long shot February in terms of the volumes. We've been talking about this now for going on a year in terms of just how much volume we are seeing in the derivatives markets. And it just continues week after week, month after month. And you go through 2020, just an extraordinary year. 2021, a record-setting year once again. Each year, record-setting. So just to give you a little bit of a backdrop. So the SMH, it was down about 5% for the week. You look over at tech, down about 4% for the week. You look at biotech, down about 7% for the week. So really getting hammered, and all those names, of course, or all those segments filling in for the NASDAQ. So when we're talking about the NASDAQ, it's not just tech. It is the SMH. It is biotech. It's a combination of so many different other types of areas in the marketplace, but we do know how tech-centric it is. So that's something that does stand out. The majority of the sectors were down last week by a pretty significant amount each. Now, the one area that seems to always be leading up and down has been energy. And energy today definitely leading to the upside. We had a market that looked pretty strong in the pre. We're up about 350. When you're looking at the Dow, we're up about 150 with the NASDAQ. But the reality is that it wasn't even close to where we have gotten to now. And why is that? Well, there's a couple of different reasons. The J&J drug, some of the excitement about what's going on with vaccines, and of course, the House passing $1.9 trillion again in COVID relief. Now, these dollars are absolutely extraordinary, and we've been talking about that, and what sort of level would they get? Well, now we see it. Now, someday that will come to roost, and you will know it. But right now, that money being thrown in, giving a definite positive lean, at least right now, for the markets. The markets opened up about 4.25. Now they are, last I looked, as a matter of fact, I could throw away the papers. Last I looked, we were up about 660 on the Dow. We had a pretty nice run on the NASDAQ. All the major indices were up almost identically, about 1.75%. So a nice, solid, broad move, but a lot of that strength coming from energy. You had energy, you had the industrial space, you had financials really hitting it, materials, all of those were up more than 2% early on, and then just add a few more into that category. Technology, which had lagged a little bit but was still strong, started to move up, and it's up over 2% as well. So a really, really strong start to the day. The volatility index, yes, did exactly what you would expect, getting pounded back down now. And I talked about Friday, that range 25 to 31, well, we're underneath that 25 level, and we're probably going to be pushing a little bit lower past this 24 level, getting a little bit lower than that into the 23. So we are seeing volatility getting hit, and we are seeing markets just scream to the upside. So biotech, the last I looked, up about 2.25%, 2.5%. Technology, as I say, did get up over 2%. Early on, it was up about 1.7%. But you could see all of this. The semis were a little bit of the lagger, but they're catching up as well pretty rapidly. So a lot of activity today. It's really, really a wild ride already today. I'm going to hit you a couple of unusuals and get the heck out of here. So the very first unusual option activity we saw today, where would it be? Energy. I just talked about energy leading. Well, energy is where it's at. We talk about the beta names all the time. This is not one of the beta names. This is one of the leaders. We've got Chevron, you've got Exxon, always big, huge leaders. And I've been talking about how I use those names as surrogates oftentimes. Whenever we see option activity in the XLE, I just immediately go to those names and try to figure out the best way to make a similar trade to the XLE. Why? Because when you trade ETFs, they do not move with the same kind of velocity that you'll get from individual names. And I think oftentimes it becomes a very lazy man's game or woman's game, because the ETFs, you're just going so broad. If you're doing that, then you're probably not as interested in being involved in the markets each and every day. So all that being said, XOM did hit. Very first stock to hit. 56.77 the stock was trading this morning. A buyer of 15,000 of this Friday. We're already March. It's March 1st. March 5th expiring calls. The 58 calls, they were going between 50 and 80 cents. Now, sometimes I hear from people, hey, you didn't tell us exactly. I am telling you exactly. Stock 56.77 at the time that this trade hit, and 15,000 of the March 5 calls. They're the 58 strike calls. They expire March 5th, and they're going for 50 to 80 cents. Next, I got Kroger. Now, it doesn't sound like a real exciting name, a real sexy name, and all the rest of that. It can be, however, and this is one of those names that definitely took on Amazon and won. Everybody figured they were out of business. Amazon's going into that grocery business, that whole storyline. The stock got hit, became a great opportunity, and now the stocks just continue to perform very nicely. Can it perform even nicer, faster? Because the stock was trading $32.60 this morning. We had a buyer of 5,000 of the March 5th expiring again, Friday expiring. The 33 calls, those are going for about 70 cents. So really interesting, plus the fact they're spreading this off. They're actually selling a higher strike call against this. I'm going to leave that out of the equation. I don't want to confuse anything, but we did have the buyer of the March 33 calls that do expire Friday. So these are both very, very short expirations. Just know that, because all you have to have is, you've got to have the knowledge, you've got to have an understanding of the options markets, all of the different Greeks as we talk about them all the time. And we, you know what, we're still educating a lot of people across the financial community on that, not just the retail, but we're talking about the financial community. So you've got to have an understanding of that. If you do, you can have a much better opportunity to have some success along the way. Market Rebellion is a place to be. Do not miss this afternoon, by the way. We've got ARK Invest. We've got a great program going. The roundtable is going to be hopping. 3 o'clock right at the close today, 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. It's going to be really big. It's going to be awesome. We have the whole team from Market Rebellion. We're going to hear a lot of great stuff. Kathy Wood's not able to do it today, but we still have the lead trader for ARK Invest. It's going to be great. Really looking forward to that later on today.